By the late 1930s, Adolf Hitler stood at the height of his power. To the world, he was the Führer of Nazi Germany, the man whose words shook nations and whose armies would soon plunge the planet into war. But behind closed doors, in the shadows of power, he lived a secret life, one carefully hidden from his people and from history itself. Her name was Eva Braun, a woman whose existence was almost erased by the regime's propaganda. A young girl who fell in love with a dictator and followed him to the very end, inside the bunker, beneath the ruins of Berlin. This is not a story of love. It's a story of obsession, control, and the chilling intimacy of power. A story of how even in humanity's darkest chapter, personal lives intertwined with global tragedy. A girl from Munich, Eva Anna Paula Braun, was born on February 6, 1912, in Munich, Germany. She grew up in a modest middle-class family, the daughter of a school teacher and a tailor. By all accounts, she was an ordinary young woman, lively, curious, fond of dancing, photography, and cinema. But history has a strange way of connecting ordinary lives with extraordinary evil. At just 17, Eva began working for Heinrich Hoffmann, Hitler's personal photographer. It was there, in Hoffmann's studio, that she first met Adolf Hitler, a man 23 years older than her, already the leader of the Nazi Party. She was a teenager. He was a rising political figure. The encounter was brief, but it changed the course of her life. Eva would later say that she was fascinated by his confidence, his aura of power, though she could hardly have understood what that power would soon become, the secret affair. By 1931, Hitler's political movement was surging. The Weimar Republic was collapsing, unemployment rising, and his promises of national revival resonated with millions. But amid this storm, Hitler's personal life remained a carefully guarded secret. Eva Braun was drawn deeper into his circle. He visited Hoffmann's studio frequently and soon, quietly, began seeing her. To the world, Hitler portrayed himself as a man devoted entirely to Germany. He once said, "I am married to the German people." His advisors agreed. A bachelor Führer appealed more strongly to women, an idol rather than a husband. So Eva was hidden. Their relationship existed in whispers, in secret letters, and brief visits. Eva lived in a small apartment in Munich. Hitler's staff referred to her vaguely as the girl, never publicly acknowledging her role. She was given money, cars, and gifts, but not affection in the way most imagine. He controlled her life, her movements, and her image. Even her attempts to gain attention, like 2 suicide attempts in the early 1930s, were met with calculated indifference. Yet she stayed. To her, being close to him meant purpose, even if it meant being invisible, behind the propaganda. As Hitler rose to power in 1933, Eva Braun vanished from public life entirely. The propaganda machine led by Joseph Goebbels crafted an image of the Führer as the nation's savior, pure, dedicated, untouchable. In that image, there was no room for a companion. While millions idolized him, Eva lived quietly in the background, confined to the Berghof, Hitler's private mountain retreat in Bavaria. There she led an isolated existence. She took photographs, filmed home movies, entertained guests, and waited. To outsiders, she seemed happy, surrounded by luxury, but in reality, she was a prisoner of the world's most dangerous man. Her diaries, found after the war, reveal a mix of devotion and despair. She wrote of loneliness, of waiting endlessly for him to call, and yet she wrote of him as "my love," refusing to see the horror that his leadership unleashed. The world at war. When Germany invaded Poland in September 1939, The world was plunged into the deadliest conflict in history. Hitler's empire expanded rapidly, and so did his delusions of grandeur. While cities burned and millions suffered, life at the Berghof continued in eerie normalcy. Eva Braun remained largely disconnected from the realities of war. She hosted tea parties, took photographs, and made home videos showing Hitler smiling with his dogs and inner circle. To her, these moments were family life. To history, they were fragments of denial, the calm at the center of a monstrous storm. As the war dragged on, Hitler's mental state deteriorated. Paranoia, isolation, and rage consumed him. Eva stayed, still forbidden from attending major political events, still hidden from the public eye. But she refused to leave. In her world, the only world she knew, being close to him was everything. The downfall. By 1944, Germany was collapsing. The Allies closed in from the west, and the Soviet army advanced from the east. Hitler retreated into his underground bunker beneath the Reich Chancellery in Berlin. And soon, Eva Braun made a fateful decision. She would join him there, even if it meant dying beside him. Those who knew her pleaded for her to stay away, but she refused, writing, "Life will not be worth living after the Führer is gone." In the bunker, the reality was grim: constant bombing, collapsing command, and Hitler's mental breakdown. Eva tried to bring normalcy, decorating, playing music, smiling for the staff. In the final days of April 1945, as the Soviet troops closed within blocks, Hitler finally acknowledged her devotion. On April 29, 1945, deep underground, they were married in a brief civil ceremony. Witnesses described Eva as calm, even radiant, while Hitler appeared exhausted, emotionless. Their marriage lasted less than 40 hours, the final hours. On April 30, 1945, as the Red Army closed in, Hitler and Eva Braun took their own lives inside the bunker. According to those present, she bit down on a cyanide capsule. He shot himself moments later. Their bodies were carried outside, doused in gasoline, and burned, as per his orders. By evening, the dictator who once ruled over Europe was gone. So was the woman who had followed him into the abyss. The Third Reich collapsed days later. Germany surrendered. Berlin fell silent. The legacy of silence. After the war, historians debated Eva Braun's role in Hitler's life. Was she complicit, a victim, or simply a bystander blinded by devotion? The truth lies somewhere in between. She was no architect of policy, but her silence, her refusal to see, made her part of the machinery of denial. Her photographs, diaries, and films offer a haunting glimpse into the private world of a tyrant, a world of illusions, privilege, and self-deception. In the end, Eva Braun's story reminds us that evil doesn't exist only in armies or governments. It can also exist quietly, in the shadows of love, loyalty, and willful blindness. The story of Hitler and Eva Braun is not one of romance. It's a mirror, reflecting how personal lives can merge with power and how human choices, no matter how private, can become part of history's darkest moments.